Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the incredibly fascinating, sometimes bizarre, and, let's be honest, slightly spooky world of animals that have totally beaten humans at the ultimate game, cheating death. You know, for centuries, humanity has been searching for the secret to living forever. But it turns out, our animal friends might have beaten us to the punch. Let's get into it. So let's kick things off with a seemingly impossible question. Can you live without a brain? It's a question that really just highlights how fragile human biology is compared to the rest of the natural world. I mean, for us, losing our head or our brain is an immediate, catastrophic game over. But for certain creatures out there, it's literally just a minor inconvenience. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover the illusion of death, post-mortem dangers, life without a head, decentralized nervous systems, and finally, extreme survival and regeneration. All right, starting us off, Section 1, the illusion of death. Beating the grave. You've probably heard that famous old wives' tale, right? If you cut an earthworm in half, 2 earthworms will form. Well, while that specific myth about earthworms is complete hokum, it actually perfectly captures our human fascination with the illusion of death. We really want to believe that life can just bounce back from the impossible. And as we're about to see, that concept is terrifyingly real for the creatures we're looking at today. Moving right along to Section 2, post-mortem dangers, or, as I like to call it, attacks from beyond. Take the humble bee, for example. You might think a dead bee is totally harmless, but man, you'd be wrong. When a bee stings, that stinger detaches from its body, but attached to that stinger is a tiny organ filled with venom, along with a microscopic muscle. Because of how simple bee physiology is, this whole setup completely bypasses the brain. It's driven purely by involuntary impulses. So that tiny muscle, it'll just keep pumping venom into you even if the bee is long dead. So yeah, if you think you're safe picking up a dead bee, definitely think again. Now, if you thought the bee was bad, check this out. Chopping off the head of a venomous snake might seem like a surefire way to eliminate the threat. But a snake's head is literally a vessel for its fangs and venom sacs. Even completely detached from the body, a snake still has these heat-sensitive pits on either side of its face. And here's the crazy part, those pits can detect a threatening presence, like, say, your body heat, for hours after death. That means a completely decapitated snake head can still deliver a deadly, zombie-style bite. The danger absolutely outlives the animal. Which brings us to Section 3, life without a head, brainless survival. So why exactly can a cockroach survive for a full 2 weeks without its head, while humans, well, absolutely cannot? Think about it. Humans have high blood pressure, centralized airways, and we desperately need our heads to eat, drink, and breathe. Lose the head and we bleed out instantly. But cockroaches? They rock an open circulatory system with pretty much zero blood pressure. If their head pops off, the wound just instantly clots and closes up naturally. But you're probably wondering, how do they breathe? Well, the secret lies in something called spiracles. These are little holes scattered all over the bodies of cockroaches. Because they breathe through these tiny spiracles independently of their heads, they simply don't need a head to take in oxygen. Thanks to this wild biological loophole, a headless roach doesn't suffocate. It actually only eventually dies from starvation weeks later. Now get a load of this number, 18. That staggering number is the amount of months one headless chicken managed to survive. I know, it sounds straight out of a horror movie, but it all comes down to a simple, albeit kind of gruesome, butcher's error. Let's break down how something like that even happens. A chicken's central nervous system is vastly different from ours. Their basic bodily functions are actually controlled by the brainstem, not the forebrain. So if a butcher chops a bit too high and misses the jugular vein, leaving the brainstem perfectly intact, that chicken can still move around and sometimes even breathe. And it's not just chickens. Female flies can live for days after being decapitated. They stand upright, they preen themselves, they can even fly if pushed. And get this, male flies will actually still try to court these headless females. The headless female just treats the whole thing as an annoying, noxious stimulus. It just goes to show that for some creatures, complex survival behaviors completely ignore the brain. All right, let's jump into Section 4, decentralized nervous systems, control beyond the brain. If you've ever seen those wild videos of chopped up octopus arms squirming around on a plate, which by the way actually makes eating fresh octopus a deadly delicacy because the suckers can get stuck in your throat, well, this is exactly why. Researchers at St. George University found that a whopping 67% of an octopus's nerve cells are located right in its tentacles, not in the main brain. In their tests, severed tentacles kept in chilled seawater would literally recoil from a pinch, curling up into a little corkscrew shape up to a full week after the animal died. The arms are just reacting to the world entirely on their own. And this decentralized survival trick extends to amphibians too. Back in the 19th century, a neurologist named David Ferrier took a pretty blunt approach to science. Basically, let's chop out its brain and see what happens. He discovered that a frog with its entire brain removed acts almost exactly like a normal frog. Turn it upside down, it rights itself. Pinch its feet, it hops away. Drop it in water, it swims right over to the edge and climbs out. If you stroke its back, it even croaks at you. This zombie-like behavior is driven completely by reflex reactions. Electrical impulses are just firing away, making muscles expand and contract without a single thought from a conscious brain.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Extreme Survival and Regeneration, Mastering Death.
5,000. That is an absolutely massive number, and it represents the number of hours the loggerhead musk turtle can survive completely without oxygen. I mean, being cut off from oxygen is just another Tuesday for them. They pull this off by utilizing internal pacemaker cells, relying on an incredible fuel stash built right into their hearts, and absorbing whatever trace amounts of oxygen they can find through their skin, their throat, and, yep, even their butt end. They literally just refuse to quit until every last drop of energy is gone.
Next up, we have this salamander, an animal pretty much synonymous with long life and almost paranormal abilities. These guys are absolute masters of cellular replication. They possess a special protein that supercharges cell growth, allowing them to perfectly regenerate a fully functional severed limb. And get this, humans actually have this exact same protein. We just only have it in tiny wound-healing quantities. Salamanders, on the other hand, use it to basically cheat permanent physical damage entirely.
But look, if we really want to talk about the true masters of death, we have to talk about the planarian, or the flatworm. Remember that earthworm myths we talked about at the very beginning of the explainer? Well, for the planarian flatworm, that myth is completely 100% true. It is the undisputed champion of biological regeneration.
The way it works is just astonishing. Step 1, you cut the flatworm in half. Step 2, the severed head simply grows a brand new tail. Step 3, the severed tail grows a brand new head. Seriously, if you cut this little creature into 20 pieces, you don't get a dead worm. You get 20 exact living clones. Researchers at Nottingham University actually exploited this biological superpower to breed a massive colony of over 20,000 flatworms from just one single original. And as if that wasn't enough, their bodies and organs don't even appear to age. So barring illness or getting eaten, they are technically immortal.
So, just to summarize this wild journey today, we've got the snake using heat-sensitive pits for post-mortem bites, the cockroach living headless thanks to spiracles, the octopus moving severed arms with decentralized nerves, and the flatworm pulling off infinite cloning through total cell regeneration. It really shows how these animals have swapped out the centralized vulnerability that we humans suffer from for some truly mind-blowing, death-defying mechanisms.
And that leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to ponder. As scientists keep rigorously studying these magnificent creatures, you really have to wonder, will their weird and sometimes pretty macabre biology one day hold the key to human regeneration? Could it even lead to human immortality? I mean, if the salamander and the flatworm have already cracked the code on cellular replication, maybe the secret to cheating death has been crawling right beneath our feet this whole time. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and remember, keep questioning everything you think you know about biology.